welcome back to Divine Life Dialogues with Reverend Dr. Autumn Renee Allen and
Reverend Michael Scott Allen, MD.
Thanks for being here as we continue our conversation as we journey towards the resurrection and Easter Sunday. Now, one of the things that we've been talking about is, those steps that Jesus's life gave to us as a blueprint for the way to divine life. And we talked about those things as being, or those steps as being, first, baptism. Then we talked about his temptation, his ministry and teaching, the miracles he performed, and the sacrifice for the greater good prior to his resurrection. And one of the things that I have been thinking about the last several weeks is this whole idea of the nature of reality. And I started thinking about the different sources of information that I've utilized in my life, and many of you have as well, besides the Bible. Now, the Bible has been the primary source for millennia for many people. But the sacred teachings of Hinduism are far older than the Bible. And although I have never really studied Hinduism, I am aware of some of the sacred texts and some of the stories. And Michael Scott, you're more aware of some of these stories than I am. You want to share a couple of them that you remember?
Well, the Bhagavad Gita is one of the stories, and I think it's volume 6 of a 30-volume set of literature that has come down from the, I guess it's one of the oldest texts around.
It's the oldest that we have contact with, yes.
And Paramahansa Yogananda has written his interpretation of the Bhagavad Gita, which is great. And he's also compared the teachings of Krishna with the teachings of Jesus, and showing how they're on the same page for a lot of things. Yogananda wrote a book called The Second Coming of Christ, where he talks about the deeper meaning of the Gospels and things like that. So,
but tell us some of the stories that you remember from Hinduism, because they're old, people. These stories predate the Bible. And the interesting part about it, and this is what I have been thinking about the last couple of weeks, is that when you start looking at the sources of spiritual teachings that we have on the planet today, they all align with certain principles. Do you agree with that?
I think so. A lot of them are, yeah. I agree.
Yeah. And so the other thing that's been going on with me the last couple of weeks is I have been investigating artificial intelligence. Now, many of you are aware that I believe it was November 30th that Open Chat GTP or GPT, .ai became available, and it's a free artificial intelligence software. And so I've been hearing the rumblings about it in conjunction with my internet activities. And so I started playing with it. And one of the things that I asked the artificial intelligence to do was to compare the Bible, Hinduism, excuse me, A Course in Miracles, and quantum physicist research. And here are the 3 areas where it says, excuse me, they overlap, or they agree, or they talk about. And that the first one is reality. And here's where they agree. They acknowledge the existence of a spiritual or ultimate reality beyond the physical world. But they disagree, they differ in their views of the nature of reality, with some seeing it as an illusion, which is exactly what A Course in Miracles calls the world, and others seeing it as a creation of consciousness or of God. Now, I don't know where Hinduism falls into that category. They do talk about Maya, don't they?
Yeah, Maya is the cosmic force of delusion.
Delusion.
That makes you think that you're separate. Makes you think you're separate from God, and that we're all separate.
Yeah, that's kind of what A Course in Miracles talks about. Is it's an illusion that we are separate from God. So they agree on that. The second element where there's a comparison is with consciousness. Now, they all have belief systems acknowledging the importance of consciousness in shaping reality. Okay, we're going to talk about reality today. And then the third area of comparison is morality and ethics. These belief systems acknowledge the importance of morality and ethics in human behavior, but they disagree, or they differ in their views of the source and the nature of morality. With some seeing as absolute and divine, or based on divine authority, and others seeing it as relative and dependent on individual intentions and actions. I don't know, some of that sounds permissive to me. What do you think?
I agree.
Okay, well, the question of reality is something that has puzzled philosophers, theologians, and scientists for centuries. And many spiritual and philosophical systems propose different views on the fundamental nature of reality. And the things that I want us to talk about today, to look at, because I'm giving you a preview to an upcoming course that you'll have the opportunity to participate in if you choose. And that is, as I'm looking at this material, the material that I've been through for 50 years of my life, the Bible, various other metaphysical materials, and churches, and the Bible, and the theological treatises, A Course in Miracles, the Seth material that was channeled by Jane Roberts. These are very powerful things that had an impact on me as I walked through my spiritual path. But they all came down to two things. I'm looking at it this way. Describing the world and how it works, which is masculine energy, and heaven, or the spiritual dimension, and how it works. And so it feels to me like these are the two orders of reality that we deal with. It's kind of like the left and the right brain. We're dealing with those two. the left hand, the right hand, the left leg, the right leg, right and wrong, good and bad. So that's an easy way, for me anyway, to compartmentalize this. And so, as I look at it that way, the two materials that fall into my lap as being the ones that have the clearest explanation of spiritual realms and the clearest explanation of our functionality in the world are A Course in Miracles and The Nature of Personal Reality by Jane Roberts. Now, are you familiar with those, the Jane Roberts material?
Well, I've been studying A Course in Miracles for 2.5 years, and I'm not really that familiar with the Jane Roberts material.
Okay.
But
Well, the way I came upon it is I had 3 people in 1 week tell me I needed to read this book. And what's interesting, you'll notice, is that it took 3 people before I got the hint, the spiritual hint, that reading this book would be useful for me at that point in time in my development. Now, I read this, close to 30 years ago. So, how do the realities that are channeled in A Course in Miracles align with or are different from Jane Roberts' picture? Because they're both channeled material. Well, that's what we're going to look at in terms of this new course that I'm going to be offering. Now, A Course in Miracles and the Seth material share similarities in their belief that reality is subjective and that our thoughts and beliefs shape our experience of reality. What do you think about that? Do you agree with that?
yeah, I agree with that. There's lots of, even scientists now are saying that there's no objective reality out there. There's a book called The Margins of Reality, the Role of Consciousness in the Physical World, and they did experiments showing that there's no such thing as a scientist in a white, white lab coat that's looking through a glass window at something going on, because his consciousness is infecting what's going on. There's also the experimenter effect, the same thing, that whoever is the lead experimenter, they can do experiments that prove a thesis or a hypothesis, and if they believe in it. If another group of experimenters don't believe in it, they prove that it doesn't work. And so it's all the consciousness of the experimenter, the lead experimenter. And so things that you would think would be random, 50-50 chance, in the Margins of Reality book, they showed that the individuals that are looking at these things, it should be 50%, like you're flipping a coin, it should be 50% heads and tails. Each individual has their own signature twist on what happens, and it's repetitive. It can be repeated. They have the same little twist on reality where they shift it from 50%, and sometimes you can do it consciously. Either way, your intention can shift it in one direction or another.
And this has got to be, a key to those people who think that this is all there is here, okay? A recognition that they are responsible for creating the life they're experiencing. Now, this was, The Nature of Personal Reality with Jane Roberts was my introduction to this whole concept that you create your reality. And you talk about freeing, empowering, but at the same time, like, it was, holy crap, you mean this ugliness I've been experiencing in some unconscious or stupid way? I created this also. And so that was what started me on, I had already started on my path metaphysically, but it really started me on looking at how we get what we get in life, which is I've told you before, that was the question that I had been asking God from the time I'm consciously aware that I was asking that question from the time I was 15. And the reason being, because I'm looking at my life. I'm only 15 years old, and I'm looking at life around me, and I'm wondering why it's this way. Why are some people in a happy marriage, they cooperate, they get along, and then there's other people that all they do is argue, which was the case with my parents. So, in addition, both A Course in Miracles and the Seth Material propose the concept of a larger spiritual reality beyond the material world. They're both defining that there are two different orders of reality that we have to deal with. And to a very large extent, maybe even for some people, the majority of their lives, they insist on only dealing with one level of reality, the physical level. And they never get that they are mentally and emotionally using that energy to create the good, the bad, and the ugly that they experience in life. Now, at what point in your journey did you become aware of this concept?
Well, I can't really put my finger on it, but I used to read some of those positive psychology books, Think and Grow Rich and I'm Okay, You're Okay. And I would notice that after reading those, my life would improve for a short term, and I went back to my old negative ways. I had some very, they say that the biggest thing you can do to extend your lifespan is to if you switch from optimists live 9 to 11 years longer than pessimists. So if you can just switch yourself from being a pessimist to an optimist, you're going to gain another 9 to 11 years in lifespan.
Yeah.
Because you're flooding your body constantly with either positive thoughts or negative thoughts, and it ends up in your physiology. And
how difficult has that been for you?
It's been a challenge my whole life, actually. But when I read the Course in Miracles now, Jesus talks about seeing things with the Christ vision versus your eyesight. And he was so powerful that when in his presence, people were able to switch to seeing the Christ vision so much easier, because he saw everybody as being sinless, guiltless, and innocent. And then that's how they could, he said, when the miracle occurred, he said, by your faith you've been healed, but it's because they align with his vision.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which is, and in the Gospel of Thomas, he says, the kingdom of God's been laid out before you, and you do not see it. So, and then the Buddha talks about too in the Dhammapada, the section on the mind, that everything you think of everything you get is what you create with your mind, your thoughts and beliefs.
Exactly. So, A Course in Miracles, this is a place where they differ. A Course in Miracles emphasizes the interconnectedness of individuals. He says that's the at one-ment, and that's what we're after, is recognition of that. Okay? While the Seth Material emphasizes the existence of multiple dimensions and realities. And I don't think that A Course in Miracles is denying the existence of multiple realities. Do you?
No, but in the Bible,
I don't think
in the Bible
he
it says that my Father's house has many mansions, but
Exactly.
in the Course in Miracles, he goes straight to the top.
He does.
All the way home. So he doesn't worry about other dimensions and aliens and all this other stuff. And, it's like,
none of that matters because they're less than.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not getting lost in distractions. It's just like going to the heart of it.
Well, because I think his objective in A Course in Miracles is to change our minds, to direct our minds to recognize, change our thinking, so that we are able to recognize and embody the truth of who we are, which is that God is the authority of our lives. We did not make ourselves, folks. I mean, we know that in this physical vehicle we didn't make ourselves. It came through the mother. Okay, but he goes beyond that and says, no, that's one of the rebellious things that's going on. So, I think he's talking about the whole picture, the at one-ment. He wants us to get the truth, which is the whole truth. So, did you go ahead?
Well, here's the analogy, and my wife hates these male sports analogies.
I do.
I know there's lots of men listening now, hopefully, and what came to me now is that the Course in Miracles is Jesus is like, if you become one with Jesus, one with God, it's like you've hit a home run, and this is the baseball analogy. You hit the ball, it goes over the fence, you run around, you touch first base, second base, third base, and you're home. You're one with Jesus, one with God. And there's so many distractions out there. Instead of looking up in the stands as everybody's doing, or looking out, going out and buying some popcorn, or going up in the stands, or going from home plate, going to second base, and then wandering around the shortstop and going in the outfield. There's all these distractions, tarot cards, theology, doctrine, learning how to speak Aramaic and ancient history and biblical history, and all the angels and aliens and all these theories. It's like he just go up there, swing the bat, hit the home run, go from home to first to second to third, and then home. So he doesn't want you to get distracted and lost in all these things that could take thousands of years and hundreds of lifetimes. He's saying you can do it right now in this lifetime.
Exactly. And so it's like you recognize that and realize, okay, how old are you now? And how many years have you been seeking this, the spirit, you've been on the spiritual journey or whatever. And there are people who do, who accept it. They just accept Jesus as the one who knows the truth. They've accepted it. So, I just want to, because I went back and I'm looking at the Jane Roberts material, I just want to give you these 9 points that the book, The Nature of Personal Reality, talks about, because these are the keys to manifesting the life that you are really wanting. And for years in my Life to the Fourth Power coaching system with clients in small groups, what I would say to them at the very outset is, and I would be energy testing for the truth. What is it that you want to be? What do you want to do? What do you want to have in this life? And often what would come up when I would do the energy testing would be the exact opposite of what had come out of their mouths. Now, to give you one example, I had one woman who had a small business who, she wanted her business to thrive. She had financial goals in her mind. She had, contact goals in her mind, and so on and so forth. And yet, at the end of the series of classes that I had...
Was this the Dancing with Money classes?
Yes, Dancing with Money.
Everybody had an amazing experience, and I had some too. I heard all the testimonies and saw them.
Well, what happened with her, though, is She really wanted a love relationship, and she ended up getting married. That was what was in her heart of hearts.
That's a form of wealth.
It is a form of wealth. It is, absolutely. There's really only two things in life, health and wealth. That's it. So let me read these quickly, and we'll talk about them more next time. But according to Seth, who is I don't know what you would call him. Anyway, he's the guide, Jane Roberts' guide, Seth, S-E-T-H. First, in the material, one of the major points is that you create your own reality. And see, people are going to push against that because I didn't want, this ill health. I didn't want this financial challenge, on and on. The second one is your beliefs shape your experience. Number 3, you have free will. Woo.
See, it sounds like Buddha and Jesus agree with all this so far.
They do. Time, number 4, time is a mental construct. Now, we know it's a mental construct. Today, literally, our clocks automatically sprung forward 1 hour in terms of daylight savings time. Number 5, there's no objective reality. And I love this. Reality is not something that exists independently of your perception. Instead, it's a subjective experience that's created by your consciousness. That's kind of difficult for people to handle. 6, you are more than your physical body. You're a multidimensional being. 7, you are interconnected with everything. Jesus agrees with that in A Course in Miracles. 8, you can access higher states of consciousness. You have the ability to do that. And 9, you are responsible for your own growth.
Most of us
In
don't.
other words, if you are stagnating, you're the one who's dragging your butts.
Most of us don't want to hear that.
No, that's true. We don't. Okay, well, that brings us to the end of today's Divine Life Dialogues.
So is your course going to teach us how to change our way of being?
You're going to walk this
create
course.
something new?
You're going to walk this course with me. I'm not sure what all's going to show up.
I hope you're going to let me join. I'm on the edge. I don't know if she's going to let me join, but I'm hoping she's going to let me.
Well, I'll let you know when I've got it ready. Okay. All right. We want to thank you for being here. And again, you can hear our recordings, all of our recordings, if you haven't been here before, at our website, https://www.allianceofdivinelife.com. Okay, that's www.allianceofdivinelife.com. So with that, we want to thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Be blessed.